Welcome to the From Burnout to Recovery show with your host, Dr. Kate. This is where your journey to burnout recovery starts. Are you feeling overwhelmed or like work has become unmanageable? Join me and my guests for open and honest conversations about burnout recovery from the comfort of the front porch. I am here to help you build your resilience and prepare you for burnout in a whole new way through a variety of perspectives. Move past the idea that burnout can only be addressed by avoidance and work to integrate recovery into your daily life. Relax, take a breath. The From Burnout to Recovery show starts now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the From Burnout to Recovery show with Dr. Kate on Transformation Talk Radio and member of the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group. I am your host, Dr. Kate, and I, of course, am always excited to have you here and welcome you to the show today. Don't forget that if you're enjoying the show, remember to hit that subscribe button and to follow me at Dr. Kate Steiner on Instagram. I am really excited about today's guest, Patricia Roberts, as her experience helps us address two key areas of burnout and burnout recovery. So the role of a caregiver and the importance of financial wellness. So caregiver burnout is a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. And it may go along with a change in attitude from positive and caring to negative and unconcerned. Burnout can happen when you don't get the help you need or when you try to do more than you are able. So either physically or financially, caregivers who are burned out may have fatigue, stress, anxiety, depression. Many caregivers also feel guilty if they spend time on themselves rather than on their ill or elderly loved ones. Financial wellness is that aspect of our relationship to money. And so how we view our money, how our mindset around abundance and the stress that finances can bring into our lives. And when we're in a state of burnout, we often don't think about how our financial wellness or that mindset is having an impact on our journey to burnout recovery. So here to welcome, Patricia Roberts has helped tens of thousands of families avoid millions of dollars in student loan debt over the past 23 years by sharing her expertise about planning ahead for higher education expenses. She is the author of Route 529, A Parent's Guide to Saving for College and Career Training with 529 Plans, is a sought-after speaker and blogger, and is the proud mom of a son who just graduated debt-free from college in June of 2021. In her current role as Chief Operating Officer at Gift of College, Inc., she encourages employers to help reduce employee stress associated with the high cost of higher education by offering matching contributions to 529 college savings plans, as well as a financial wellness benefit. She also educates employers on how they can offer tax-free student loan assistance for employees thanks to some changes in late 2020, and educates them about the valuable role 529 ABLE plans can play for employees with disabilities or those like herself who have loved ones with disabilities. Patricia's initial interest in financial wellness and higher education can be traced back to her childhood when unexpected circumstances launched her into a family leadership role at the age of 10. While she would nearly miss the opportunity to go to college because of cost, she earned both an undergraduate and law degree while working multiple jobs and considers the attainment of higher education as the reason she was able to lift herself, her mom, and family out of poverty. She is described to help others achieve their higher education dreams with as little debt and regret as possible. Patricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Kate, for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here with you today.
Yeah, well, I am excited to have you. Not only do you connect with me in regard to, I think that the piece of my former career in higher education, and I appreciate all that you do for college students and those who are going into career training to help support them so that they can do so without debt, but also appreciate you coming on to share a little bit more about your story. So to get us started, would you tell us a little bit more about your burnout experience and any part of your journey to recovery?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I've got to trace it back a bit. You did refer to the fact that at the age of 10, I really did assume a leadership role in a family that took a very unexpected turn. My father became a missing person one morning and left our family with a home that was about to go into foreclosure, a mom who he never would allow to work outside of the home. So someone without current career skills and without education that went beyond high school, and with 4 children, one of whom, my oldest brother, is developmentally disabled.
Wow.
We lost our home immediately. Our cars were taken away. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Operation Repo. They really do come and take things back when they're not paid for. And we wound up without a place to live, no form of transportation in rural Pennsylvania. And that whole experience took a toll on our mom, who we almost lost as well. She became critically ill from all that stress. And I was the youngest, but for whatever reason, I stepped up and tried to keep everything together the best I could. So I've got a long history of really trying to keep things together and help and serve others to get them back to their own well-being, and also a long history of not looking out for myself as a result of that. So more currently, in 2016, my mom, at 88 and a half, began to decline in her health, and I saw her through to the end of her life. And what complicated matters there, in addition to my losing my best friend and somebody I love so very much, was the fact that my brother, who always lived with her, was now in a situation where he needed to transition into living a bit more independently.
Mhm.
And I, of course, out of everyone, assumed responsibility for overseeing that and taking care of him, while I really needed to also be taking care of myself. What also happened in 2016 is that the firm I worked for 9 years exited the business I was managing. So
Mhm.
just as I got back from the loss of my mom, and while I was helping my brother transition, I learned I was losing my job. And just beyond that, my closest friend from childhood, maybe 2 months later, revealed to me that he had late stage cancer and really needed my help to help transition him really through the end of his life as well. So it was a lot at once, Kate. And I will say I did burn out. I
Yeah,
found myself in a really tough spot, all while having to look for a new job and
sure.
wanting to be my very best, which I really was quite distracted and overwhelmed and not feeling well at all.
Yeah. I'm not surprised to hear that he, like, not feeling well in that physical piece, but wow, what a journey you've had. I mean, it's really this experience of being a caretaker and taking on that, responsibility from the age of 10, and sounds like really continuing throughout your life, but then having multiple things happening all at once in 2016. What were some of the ways that you started to recognize that you were, potentially in a burnout state or just not yourself anymore?
One of the things I recognized, I had always been the rock in my family, the glue that held everyone together. And I just felt like I had cracked somehow, maybe not completely broken, but I didn't feel myself. And I almost didn't feel capable of continuing to assume that role.
Mhm.
So that was one of the first feelings. I also felt on some days, I think we all know, anyone who's been through a job search, it's hard. And particularly when you're a bit more senior in your career, to find something new. On those days when I was looking for a job and processing all these emotions about my mom and dashing back and forth across state lines to visit my brother 2 hours each way, there were days when I just did not feel like getting out of bed.
Mhm.
I really didn't. I just wanted to pull those covers up over my head. And the one thing I knew for sure is I had to keep going. My son was a high school senior at the time, and this was, an important year for him. He was writing out college applications. We were still visiting schools, and I really, because of him, pushed myself to get up every day and to continue moving forward. And, that's what I did. But all of those feelings I had, and I was very sad. I mean, I was teary, Kate, almost every day. I could have cried in the middle of any conversation. I just wasn't feeling it. And then to have to put myself together for job interviews, knowing that I was quite distracted, was tough, really tough.
Yeah. It sounds incredibly hard. And I imagine that a number of our listeners are listening to this and going, oh my gosh, I've experienced this. I've felt this, especially I know that I've experienced, the teariness, the feeling of just like that sadness and being on the verge of tears pretty much every moment of the day. Was there a point where, a turning point or, you can look back and say, okay, this is where I figured out, like, I can't do this anymore. I need to make an adjustment of some kind?
Yeah, there was. And I stumbled upon it. I don't know how, but I stumbled upon Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. I don't know if you know that book or know Mel Robbins, but
Yeah. Well, would you describe it for our listeners?
Yes. It's a book in which Mel Robbins helps us to realize that really in any 5-second window, you can make a decision that can help move you toward or away from something that's important to you. So Mel talked in that book about not wanting to get out of bed herself a number of years ago when she was in a tough situation, and that she just began in the morning to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just thrust herself out of bed. Just getting out of bed sometimes is a feat in and of itself. And Mel talks about that. She also talked about how to use those counting mechanisms to stop yourself. I had become very accustomed to emotional eating at this time. So how to, if I was about to indulge in something I really didn't need, just to cover up some of those emotions, how to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and kind of steer myself away from it. So I think that book was a turning point. And then beyond that, I found an opportunity to get into a mastermind course with her called The Power of You. And that course with those people who are friends to this day was a turning point, because we had to pick a project to work on in this narrow time frame. And my project was self-care. And it was in that moment of working on that project that I realized I had no idea how to care for myself. I hadn't even factored myself into my own life for years. I didn't really have anything to do with my life. I was so busy caring for everyone else, but I realized that I had all the skills I needed to take care of myself. I just wasn't utilizing them. So everything I had done to impeccably care for others, to leave no stone unturned in getting my brother set up or helping my mom or friend through the end of their lives, I could use those same skills for myself. And that was a turning point when I started to realize, 1, I mattered in my own life, and 2, I had everything I needed, or most everything I needed, to start helping myself. And I did slowly. And that was in 2018. So it was really 2016 and 17 were tough years. And 18, I started to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
How amazing that you came across, Mel Robbins and the book and those kinds of things, probably right when you needed to, and to be open to that experience. I love that, the method. I use it quite often, and often when I'm avoiding something or procrastinating on something, I will use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, decide or act, and to get me into motion. So I love that you bring that up for our listeners. I really love that you brought up the piece that you already had the skill set within yourself because you had been taking care of others, and all you needed to do was transition it to yourself and know that you were worthy, just as worthy, if not more worthy, to have that care from yourself as well. What were some of the first things that you implemented into your life for that self-care aspect?
One of the first things I implemented is something that Mel actually suggests, which is to not sleep with your phone in your room and to steer clear of electronics for at least a portion of each morning. I was so quick to be looking to see what job responses I had gotten, or what did my brother need, or what was happening with anybody else. And I stopped that. It is silence in the morning for me. I don't look at anything until I've taken care of myself first. And that was one of the first things. And in that period of silence, I've incorporated prayer as well as meditation. I went and got trained in transcendental meditation. I think any form of meditation is wonderful, but I did treat myself to that. And that was very helpful. And I do that twice a day. So setting those boundaries in the morning, setting time for myself, the quiet time, and then time for other things that I like to do, whether it's mapping out my day or a little bit of exercise, really helped me to feel more fulfilled as I started my day, and to be much less resentful and regretful as the day goes on, because I found myself, often joyfully assisting others, and then later on really resenting the fact that I hadn't done anything for myself. And going this strategy helped me. First thing in the morning, I was looking out for myself, and then scheduling things throughout the day, such as a second meditation, which I do to this day at 6 p.m., everything off at 6 p.m. I'm meditating again just for 10 to 20 minutes, but I am doing it. And then scheduling in some health breaks during the day. That's really what started to help me tremendously, and sticking to it and being accountable to myself and realizing I'm worth it.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's so important that first the morning routine. I love that piece of the separation from, your electronics. So first not having the phone with you in the bedroom, and then ensuring that you have that period of silence before you check email or go to our phone. That is something I'm actually working on, is trying to not check my phone first thing in the morning. And I think not having it on my nightstand would probably help in that regard. I'm pretty good about ignoring it at night, but in the morning, it's the first thing I want to pick up. So trying that. And I love the piece of scheduling in those health breaks throughout the day. Are there any activities that you are drawn to that you really enjoy that help kind of almost you feel excited to take your health break?
The one thing I really enjoy, I live in an urban setting here in Brooklyn, New York. I enjoy going for walks midday and just enjoying the beauty of my neighborhood. I believe I began to appreciate it so much more during COVID. And now that I'm working at home, I find it's just such a breath of fresh air, sometimes quite literally, to just go outside and spin around. And I feel just energized when I come back in. So that's something that I've really enjoyed doing, and I stick with it every single day. I take a break, at least one break for myself, and get outside, which feels really good. It's not a ton of exercise, but it's quiet time. I can listen to music. I can walk. I'm not working is really what the theme is.
Yes, that separation from the workspace for sure, and getting outside, getting some movement. Yeah, getting some intellectual break, those kinds of things is amazing. Would love to just tap into your expertise when it comes to, financial wellness and those pieces. How has that impacted you in regard to burnout and recovery, or, how do you connect those two pieces together?
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of emotions around money tying back to my childhood, and watching really everything spiral out of control very quickly and very suddenly. So it's been important for me to do a little bit of planning and to always know that I'm okay. I'm not my mom in that regard. I am educated. I do have some money in the bank. I have visibility into my finances, which she did not. And it's helped me to make certain that I've saved a certain amount that can help me through emergency situations. And in 2016, as I mentioned, it was my son's senior year of high school. I would have had so much more stress than I already had I not been saving since he was an infant for his college education. And that was one thing that I was able to just take off of me, and to realize we've got that under control. I had those savings in place. I met a lot of people in outplacement when I was looking to find a job whose kids were about the same age, and they had to now tell them they couldn't go, or they got into their dream school, they couldn't go. So planning ahead has provided me peace of mind, and particularly with respect to college, which is so expensive. And having some emergency funds during that
Mhm.
time between that job and finding a new one was very helpful. I think people view financial planning sometimes as taking away from their life, really causing them to suffer and not have the things that they want right now. When in reality, if you could reframe it and look at it as not something detrimental, but rather something that will provide you with freedom in the long
Mhm.
run and peace of mind, I think that's tremendously helpful, because that's what it did for me. And I know it does for others. When you've got that safety net, it's one less thing to worry about, particularly when you have so much else on your hands. So I do encourage people, certainly for these big goals like saving for college or retirement, to make sure you're addressing them at least to some extent, and then to always have that emergency savings in your name. And as my mom taught us, in your own name, for listeners who are women or men, to not always have everything commingled, but to have
Mhm.
something for yourself should you ever need it. Not that all relationships turn out to be bad, but it gives you a sense of freedom and peace.
Yeah.
And those are the things about financial planning that I really like, is that you're going to be okay,
Yeah.
even when life throws some curveballs.
I absolutely adore the reframe of the thought process when it comes to financial planning, and not thinking of it as being a burden, but really as something that brings you a sense of freedom and escape, almost in a sense of peace. And I think that that is so incredibly important. And, when we try to ignore it, or we don't really think about it, that's when it can impact us in that negative, or not so great way. But when we think about it and we plan for it, then we can definitely feel that sense of freedom. So before we wrap up and go to our recovery moment, Patricia, what is one piece of advice that you would offer our audience members?
I would say that acknowledging burnout, if you happen to find yourself in it, and beginning to take better care of yourself, is probably the best gift you can give anyone, and particularly the younger people in your life who are watching you and modeling their life and their attitudes after you. So taking care of yourself, if you can think of it as not something selfish, but something that's really valuable both for yourself and others, I think is the best advice. It's giving the best of you to others when you're in a position of strength versus the rest of you, right? The best of you versus the rest of you, the leftovers where you're, phoning it in and trying to be helpful. This is a different way of looking at it. It's good for you and it's good for others. And that's my best advice, is to take care of yourself and to know it's good for everyone around you.
Oh, that is fantastic. So, listeners, be sure to take care of yourself so that you can be the best of yourself, and not just give people the rest of you, what the leftovers that you have left to give. That is so, so incredibly important. So you have given us so many great tidbits. I think just the piece of, I'm going to take just the reminder that we need to schedule those health breaks, that the importance of having a morning routine, the importance of removing ourselves from our electronics at the end of the night, and not picking them up first thing in the morning as part of our self-care. Where can our audience find out more about you?
Well, let's see. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the platform where I am most. Patricia Roberts. My company is Gift of College. I'm also on Instagram. The name of my book is Route 529, Route. So Route 529 Mom. I'm on Instagram as well as Facebook under that name. And my book is available on Amazon. If there's anyone looking to save for college or other long-term goals, take a look. And I think it will help you and inspire you.
Fantastic. Well, listeners, as always, we are going to close out the show with a recovery moment. And today, our meditation is focused on abundance for your financial wellness, rest, and recovery. So, first, I'd like you to take a moment to place yourself in a comfortable position, ground your feet to the floor, feel the pressure as you briefly press your feet into the floor and relax as you release them. Take a breath, a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Continue that slow, easy breathing throughout this recovery moment. As you continue to breathe, scan your body and notice any areas that are tense or tight. Allow them to soften and relax. I'd like you to focus your attention to your heart, and with each deep breath, hear the following affirmation. I am grateful for all the positive aspects of my life. I welcome receiving unexpected opportunities. I am open to unlimited possibilities. I am open to new solutions and creativity. I attract money effortlessly and easily. I release resistance toward attracting money. I am proud of myself and my accomplishments. I am proud of the individual I am and the individual I am becoming. And as you take one more deep breath, I want you to hear that last one again. I am proud of the individual I am and the individual I am becoming. Bring your attention back to your present space and the things around you. Remember, for more recovery moments, you can follow me at Dr. Kate Steiner on Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to the From Burnout to Recovery show on YouTube. I'm grateful to our guest, Patricia Roberts. Be sure to follow her at Route 529 Mom on Instagram. And I thank each of you for listening. Thank you for joining us today on the From Burnout to Recovery show with Dr. Kate on Transformation Talk Radio. I am Dr. Kate, and I wish you peace on your journey. Thank you for joining me on the front porch today. If you are ready to start your own burnout recovery journey, be sure to visit me on my website, liftwellnessconsulting.com, and be well, my friends. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Kate, on the From Burnout to Recovery show, where you are starting your journey to burnout recovery. You are invited to join me on the front porch every second and fourth Friday of the month on transformationtalkradio.com to continue growing in resilience and integrating recovery into your daily life. If you would like to learn more or find out how to work with me, visit liftwellnessconsulting.com.